Innovations and new technologies are changing the world and our daily lives. What's important to remember is that technology isn't creating jobs, people are. But the opportunities will not exist without technology. Innovation by entrepreneurs and their passion to make the world a better place has given us virtually everything. The promise of technology does not just drive entrepreneurship, but also helps solve some of the world's big problems like poverty, climate change, pollution, and others. There can be great synergy between entrepreneurship and doing good if technology is deployed for the right objectives. Besides smart regulation and innovation in education, the emphasis for a better future should be to encourage ordinary people to dream up big businesses and keep the entrepreneurial spirit alive.
My name is Ife Adebayo.
Our guest is the Special Assistant to the Vice President on Innovation and Entrepreneurship, and he shares his opinion on how we can leverage technology to create new jobs.
Frankly, I think we've had a lot of people who mostly have been able to achieve what they've achieved and do what they've done in spite of the environment and the challenges, right? As opposed to having an environment and a system that supports them. So, are the people doing enough? Yes. Is the system providing enough support? Is the environment itself ready for them? I'll say not as well as it should. And if you observed in the last 4 years, the Vice President, for example, has been very hard on this sector and has been saying, you know, we need to do more. We need to focus on ease of doing business. We need to support the innovation ecosystem. We need to support tech guys. He did the tech tour, visiting various startups. He visited Spacetac, visited Andela, all around Lagos. At some point, he was in Silicon Valley, where he met with investors to say to them, you need to come into the country. You need to provide more support for our ecosystem. Everywhere he speaks, he mentions names specifically. You hear him mentioning Marquesian, mentioning Inya Boyeji, mentioning Shola. He mentions specific names of people that have been doing amazing things to show that he's interested in this space and wants to provide that support for them and provide that foundation that was not as good as it should have been over time.
What additional steps should we take as a country to advance innovation?
So number one thing that we need to do is to institutionalize the support for people who are building innovative products or coming up with innovative solutions to various challenges that we have as a country. And I'll say the first that we need to do is funding. We need to look at how we can provide the right kind of financial support. So we have the Bank of Industry, we have the Bank of Agric, we have a lot of CBN intervention programs. We have intervention programs for farmers, for women, for rice, but we need an intervention, financial intervention support for this ecosystem that allows these people to be able to do the right things, to be able to fund the things that they need to do, the projects that they're doing. Secondly, I think we need to institutionalize a lot of this support, right? So when you look at universities, for example, virtually every university final year project in Nigeria of today ends up in the spiral binded paper and in the cupboards of one lecturer or the other. So you can imagine how many solutions that we have to a lot of spiral of issues we're facing that are just sitting in these people's cupboards. And you have students who just score an A and they come out with a first class, but then this thing ends up there. So we need to institutionalize the support and be able to say, who are these people that are innovating within our institutions? And how can we take these ideas from just being academic to actually being commercial? So how do we move from academic success to commercial success within those spaces? Then I think finally we need a bit of a little more of private sector involvement in what is going on. So there's a lot of financial ability within the country, latent financial ability that is just laying there and doing nothing. So how do we get the people who own this money to be able to know that there is opportunity for you to put this money in businesses that could actually thrive? And then how does government sort of provide security for that? Because we also know that it's risky to put your money in just a concept or an idea of something that is innovative, that hasn't been tested, hasn't been market tested. So how do you provide a sort of security for them also to come into that space. And then, we have a lot of innovation hubs springing up. We have a lot of universities coming up with entrepreneur centers. So how do we support these guys and sort of link them to this private capital, and then ensure that the people coming through the pipeline of these hubs and these centers are able to get the right financial support to push them up.
Are you impressed with the efforts of various innovation hubs across the country?
Impressed is an understatement for a couple of them, right? Of course, you always have the very good ones and those who are just struggling. But the fact that there are young people who have just decided to drop what they were doing and just focus on supporting entrepreneurs, supporting tech entrepreneurs, building tech businesses, it's amazing. And then when you visit, right? So, for example, on my first visit to Enugu, where I visited the Genesis Hub, I was shocked to find that there's a man who has just put in money and is supporting startups and is picking up students from universities in the Southeast and is bringing them into his space and is helping them to build products, and a couple of these products are in the market and already making billions. I mean, what do you say to that? Without any form of government encouragement or any form of government support, people are actually already doing the hard work. So when you look at all these stories and you see all these young people, you cannot but be impressed. But then what we need to do is to have a lot more of them. So you've had people like Sanusi who set up Collab in Kaduna. You have the guys of the Blue Hub in Kano. So you have these other guys in Abia. So a couple of people coming up, but then how do we support them? How do we encourage them? And how do we also ensure that we know there's a lot of activity in Abuja and Lagos, for example, and recently Anambra, Enugu, Kaduna. But then how do we make this a national thing? Because the problems of each region, and even when you drill further, each state is very different. So we need to provide innovative ways to all these solutions. And when you even say innovative ways, it's not until you bring something that no one has heard about. It's just about doing something in a different way.
Finally, startups say that the environment is pretty harsh for them to survive. How do you think we can at least make it a bit comfortable so they can try to build their dreams?
The environment is harsh for every startup in Nigeria, whether you're tech or you're agric or you're a restaurant or you're a shoemaker. And that's simply because we have a system that cannot be centrally controlled. So as the federal government, you may want to provide this whole ease of business, etc., right? But then, the moment you open a new store in one town in Onitsha, there are like 10 people coming to you to say, oh, you have to pay this levy, or you have to pay one local government charge, you have to pay one environmental charge, you have to pay this. So we need to, and the Vice President has been driving this, working with the National Economic Council of the Governors. I know that the Ease of Doing Business Secretariat has also been working with the state governments to see how we can ensure that people can start businesses without a hassle, right? How we can make it easy for everybody. And people within the tech ecosystem, in fact, are luckier than others because they are able to even leapfrog a lot of these things using technology, right? So as a nation, we just need to have that conversation as a cohesive team, right? To say, how do we from local government level to state to national level ensure that people are able to run businesses and start businesses easily? So the government regulators, right, must go beyond revenue generation and how many people we caught, and instead start to look at how many people were we able to help to make things easy. How many people came to us for licenses and we're able to give them the licenses in 24 hours? How many of them came for information and we're able to give them that information in 24 hours, in 48 hours? I think anything a government agency cannot give in 48 hours, I think you've already exceeded the allowed limit of time. And I think these are the things that we're supposed to start to focus on to enable businesses to grow and to enable startups to grow.
Well, thank you for being on the show today. Wish you all the very best.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure.
My guest has been Ife Adebayo, Special Assistant to the Vice President on Innovation and Entrepreneurship, who is of the opinion that aside from the agricultural sector, the technology industry is one area that can help us create a lot of jobs for our growing population. However, for this to become a reality, we must invest in education and help our students and graduates to be more competitive in a world increasingly controlled by technology. It's a wrap on this edition of the show, but the conversation continues online. Join us on social media. And remember, you can watch the entire show on the channel's TV YouTube account or by checking out cfablog.ng. For Tech Trends, I'm Chukwemeka Agbata.